Welcome to Singing Demystified. I am Cornelius of Voice Studio East, and I am here today to talk about chest register, the lowest of the 7 registers in my system and the one most commonly used for speech. When used in singing, it sounds like this. There's a grief that can't be spoken, there's a pain goes on and on. But it can also be done more softly, in which case it might sound like this. Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. Chest register has a characteristically focused timbre that becomes brassy or even buzzing at louder volumes. While it can be made quite dark, it cannot be made spacious or yawny, as this will remove the characteristic frontedness, which is a defining feature of this register. Beginners usually have no trouble finding the chest register, but it may have certain coordination problems, hindering it from being efficient and from achieving a wide dynamic range. Perhaps it will sound something like this. Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. Here, the vowels are a little bit muddy, and there's a certain compressed or driven quality that generally tends towards mixed voice. To avoid this, it helps to really stress the speech-like quality of chest register, making sure you're not actively trying to shape the tone or control the dynamics too tightly, but just speaking the notes on pitch. Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. Now, this may sound unmusical at first. In fact, people who sound like this sometimes get called tone deaf, even if they are singing perfectly in tune. Though I, for one, love when I get students who sound like this, because they tend to be less inhibited and thus tend to make progress a lot faster. And just by adding legato, more animated facial expressions, mirth, and a bit of vibrato, we can turn it into this. Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. Thus, it is not the least bit necessary to change the essential character of the sound in order to make it musically useful. We merely need to add a little bit of warmth and life to it. But if anything, we should actually strive to maintain that plain speech-like character when singing in chest register. Trying to mellow the sound will only remove some of the high treble content and make the tone less brilliant. So keep it speech-like, but add warmth and aliveness. If you are stuck with the driven or pressed quality, you might just need to sing a bit louder with more conviction.
A man can't stand, he can't fight.
With conviction, Mr. LaRusso.
A man can't stand, he can't fight.
Good.
But if even this is not enough, you can try inhaling into a dramatically upright posture, with an elevated sternum and the head held high. An upright posture like this will open up your chest cavity, hence the need to inhale into it. If you tried simply straightening your posture without inhaling, you would be unable to open the chest cavity as much. The inhalation should be what draws you into an upright posture, with the air functioning as a structural component that supports your ribcage. Try to make the beginning of the inhalation very explosive to get those fast twitch muscle fibers in your accessory inspiratory muscles to activate. Try also to add a bright smile that brings your eyes and whole face to life. From here, hold your breath, but keep the airway open. Don't close it as normal when holding a breath. Don't do this. but instead keep the glottis open as if you've been frozen in the middle of an inhalation. This forces you to maintain the activity of the inspiratory muscles that drew you into the upright posture, and more importantly, it maintains atmospheric pressure in the lungs, allowing you to increase it from there in a controlled manner. Try holding the position for a bit, just to get familiar with the sensation, and then produce a crisp, clean glottal onset into a sustained note, all the while maintaining the upright posture and the elated facial expression. Ah! The onset should neither be forceful, like this, ah, nor careful, like this, ah. It should instead have a quality of spontaneity, coupled with a sense that the closing of the vocal folds in preparation for the note, the buildup of subglottic pressure, and the release into a glottal onset all happen in a single instant, like we just switch from the held breath to the beginning of the note, with only a little click to separate the two. Ah! It may also be helpful to combine the onset with a loose gesture that begins as suddenly as the note does. Ah! If you find your posture becoming overly rigid, it might be helpful to go in the opposite direction and try to simply collapse the posture with a sigh. Then begin the note from the resulting position without inhaling first. Ah! If everything went well, you should have found an efficient chest register with a clear, sharp tone that doesn't require much effort to produce, at least in this range. This can be very useful for getting rid of pressing, reducing pharyngeal narrowing, and getting a fuller contact between the vocal folds, making it very effective as a means to get out of a squeezing spiral. If you don't know what a squeezing spiral is, you can check the description for a video on that topic. As a short summary, people sometimes get stuck in a mixed voice that becomes gradually thinner until it sounds frail and weak and feels uncomfortably squeezed. In particular, this tends to happen if you take mixed voice low in pitch without decreasing the volume sufficiently. To avoid this, it is important to have a well-developed chest register to return to for lower notes. It may be helpful to look for points in the song suitable for collapsing into chest register. In particular, lower notes using open, fairly bright vowels like a and e. That brings us to the topic of vowels in chest register. As mentioned in the previous video, chest register allows for a clearer enunciation than is possible in any other register, and that means there are hardly any constraints on what vowels we can produce. However, the sharpness characteristic of chest register comes from a particular type of twang that does place some constraints on how we shape the vowels. This twang is not a baby-like whining sound, but is produced lower in the throat and is more akin to a snarl. Ah! In speech it sounds blaring and abrasive like this, not childlike or whiny like this. To produce this kind of twang, we need vowels that have a bright, forward quality, though the overall tone can still be darkened, for example by lowering the larynx. That brightness of the vowels can most easily be achieved by widening the tongue. You should feel the sides of the tongue move up and to the side, making contact with the molars. It is not necessary to use a lot of effort here. No need to feel like you're trying to press the molars outwards or some such. Just a gentle, easy movement will do. If you do this and start talking loudly, you should hear some of that blaring quality come into your speaking voice. When singing in this quality, it is important that you do not restrain the tone or be overly self-conscious about it, as this will take out the essential brightness from the vowels and tend in the direction of mixed voice. The tone should remain sharp and insistent, not dull, nor even a little mellow. This becomes especially important as you ascend in pitch. It may seem like this vocal quality is limited to the third octave and in particular cannot go past E4. But if you really are very precise with your enunciation and make sure to keep this brightness in the sound, you should be able to take this quality up to around G4 or A4. In the beginning, though, I strongly recommend focusing on the third octave when practicing chest register. Close vowels like E and U are possible in chest register, but as you ascend in pitch, certain limitations will come into play. Specifically, it will become increasingly necessary to raise the larynx, or else modify the vowels into I and Ö, respectively. There is thus a trade-off between diction and warmth here. E, U, versus E, U. Even if you are singing a genre that calls for a high larynx more or less all the time, I still recommend practicing the modification just to give you that extra bit of wiggle room in case you should need it. Notice also how much mouth movement there is. In particular, back vowels like O and U will require a lot of protrusion and rounding of the lips, so as to keep the tongue in a more fronted position. Also, as this demonstration showed, it is possible to produce chest register at a rather soft volume. In fact, it is possible to sing much more softly in chest register than even this. The key is to keep that piercing, focused quality to the vowels, even if the volume is insufficient for it to manifest as a buzzing timbre. Doing so is tricky because it requires the same energetic, active articulation we use for singing loudly in chest register, but with much less subglottic pressure. In practical terms, this means we need a higher level of energy in the face than in the body, which is to say that we need to be able to decouple these when it comes to energy levels. To achieve this combination of an animated face with a calm body, it helps to relax the posture into a slight hunch. You can then try producing a warm, bright, sighing quality like this. Ha! Being sure to keep the eyes animated and the vowel bright with a wide tongue shape, as previously discussed. Then, to sing in this quality, make sure your singing is boldly confident, even fearless, despite being relaxed at the same time. Ha! If you've gotten the hang of both the loud and soft versions of chest register, you can try the following exercise as a way to further refine your skills. First, do a clean, crisp glottal onset into a sustained hum around B3 or so. Then, just as suddenly as the onset, add a buzzing quality. Now, open your mouth to produce an ah vowel with a bit of the nasality allowed to remain. Ah. There's your pop tenor chest register. The nasality makes the tone a bit smoother and more suitable for boyband-esque singing, like this. I never wanna hear you say, I want it that way. From here, you can add a fourth step, consisting of increasing the volume while lowering the larynx and removing the nasality. And there you have a more dramatic sounding chest register, suitable for musical theater or classical music. Once you've gotten the hang of this, you can try a version where you skip the hum, going immediately for a soft ah, and add the buzzing quality gradually, like this. Ah. It is up to you to decide when to remove the nasality, or if you even want it in there at all, even in the beginning. The most important thing when practicing this exercise is that the onset is kept minimalistic and as instantaneous as possible, so as to go into a soft chest register right away, instead of mixed voice. One more thing. Do not be too eager to take chest register high in pitch. Doing it too soon will most likely make your coordination messy, causing it to take on characteristics of mixed voice and become less efficient. Don't try to take it higher than approximately D4 until you have gotten very comfortable with it in this lower range and can reliably tell it apart from mixed voice and call register, which will be covered in subsequent videos. Now, to summarize what we have learned in this video. Firstly, chest register relies on a bright, focused quality that will result in a buzzing sound when the volume is loud. Secondly, this focused quality is more easily done with front vowels than back vowels, but back vowels can be made to work by protruding and rounding the lips a lot. Finally, it is best to become highly fluent with chest register in the third octave before trying to take it higher. And with that, we've reached the end of today's video. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment down below. If you wish to get in touch, you can click the link in the description to join my Discord server, or you can visit my website at voicestudioeast.com, where you can also book lessons with a 50% discount available on your first booking. Stay tuned, remember to like and subscribe for more content, and as always, thanks for watching.